Hello there. It's time for Most Things Kenobi.
Hey everybody, welcome to our first episode of Most Things Kenobi, a podcast about Obi-Wan Kenobi and all things Star Wars. I'm your host, Lauren.
And I'm your host, LeeAnn. And we'd like to start by giving a huge shout out to the amazing James Arnold Taylor for providing our intro. Yes, James Arnold Taylor.
That's right.
Provided our intro. For those of you who may not be aware, James is the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi on the Clone Wars, and he's pretty much the nicest person on the planet. He's incredibly good to his fans, and I don't know about you, Lauren, but we cannot believe that he agreed to record our intro. Very cool.
Oh my god, I had a heart attack when the message came in.
Still can't believe it.
I was so hyper when I saw that.
It's very cool.
Thank you so much, James. You're a kind soul for bequeathing this podcast gold to us. Everybody, please get over to James's social media and give him a follow. You can find him on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and more. Show this Jedi some love and support, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. James, thanks again.
You're the best.
Really, truly. And let us know when we can have you on sometime, huh?
Seriously. So we can all have heart attacks.
100%. The Obi-Wan Kenobi. Voice of.
Seriously. The best Obi-Wan Kenobi? Can I say that? Maybe I can't
you can
say
it.
that.
It's your podcast, right? And this is our very first episode. This is it.
It's true.
It's happening.
It's happening.
I guess we should introduce ourselves.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'm LeeAnn. I would have to say I've been a longtime Star Wars fan, obviously, since, now we're doing this podcast together. It's how we found each other as friends, you and I. And probably since I was little, I can remember being Princess Leia for Halloween. Not that I'm sure there's a million out there who have, but it was a monumental moment for myself as a child.
I could see it, totally. You would be the cutest Leia ever.
Yeah, totally. I had the buns and everything. It was great. And so, I'm kind of a geeky girl, obviously. I love to write. I now love to talk about writing and movies. And how about you?
I am Lauren. I've been running the Most Things Kenobi blog on Tumblr since March of 2017. It's been quite a trip.
Yes, a very good blog, by the way, if you don't know of it. It's excellent.
Oh,
very
thank you.
Excellent.
You're very
you're
kind. It's been really fun. It's afforded me a lot of opportunity to meet people with a similar interest. And it's kind of surprising to me even that I have an Obi-Wan Kenobi blog.
Yes.
I don't know how that happened.
Well, because he's amazing. We can start there.
Well, he is. And because Clone Wars was so good, it turned me into a very deep, loving Star Wars fan, into an obsessive, rabid fan who couldn't get enough. And it really spurred a passion for me to come back to Star Wars in a way that I hadn't, because I loved it since I was a kid. My dad took me to see when they re-released the movies in the 90s. Mm-hmm. That was kind of when I first, but I do remember watching Empire Strikes Back at my aunt's house with all my older cousins. I have cousins who are about 10 or 15 years older than me, and they were watching Empire Strikes Back, and I had to run and hide because the Wampa scene was so scary.
I love that.
I was terrified, but now I love it. It's one of my favorite scenes because I'm a weirdo. I don't know, but it was great. So yeah, I have a long history with Star Wars, but it's definitely blossomed into something much bigger than I ever could have imagined with this blog and meeting you.
Yes. Aside from Star Wars just being purely inspirational in so many ways, it actually led to us finding each other across the galaxy, if you will. And it's kind of, I know you and I talk about it all the time, but it's still crazy to me that we were just two usernames on Instagram. We found each other, and now look at us. Friends. Really good friends. We're not just virtual friends. The first time we met everyone was at San Diego Comic-Con 2018.
Oh my God.
And we were front row at the Clone Wars panel.
Oh my God.
When they announced that Clone Wars was saved.
Oh, it was such an emotional moment, which is like pathetic. Usually you say you're emotional at like weddings and baby announcements, but no, for me,
Clone Wars panel 2018.
it was when Clone Wars is coming back.
Truly.
We're actually, there's footage of us, like just a snippet, if you know where to look in the official Star Wars video from that panel. You can see us like clasping our hands to our chests.
Yes.
Like, tears streaming down our faces.
Just to be there and see the cast and Dave Filoni. Shout out Dave Filoni. The man. Absolute genius. Amazing.
Seriously.
Amazing man.
A genius. A genius.
And a personal hero of mine.
Yes. Same.
But just to be in their presence, and it was cool to be around a bunch of fans that were just as hyped as us. But none of us knew that they were bringing it back for the final season. And that was...
It was what was the anniversary? Was it a
10th year?
From when it was over or when it started? I can't remember.
The movie came out when? 2008 or was that 2007?
I think it was. Well, I thought it started in 2000.
Oh, we're some fans.
Either way, it was a 10. I mean, we're pretty close to the date.
From that panel, I wouldn't have guessed that's what we were going to get. I thought it was just going to be a conversation with,
Oh, no.
the panel and...
Yeah. And he, like, I've actually rewatched it on YouTube because of course, someone was filming it on their phone. So I rewatched the panel and, like, it was so great because Dave Filoni was sharing, like, his actual drawings, like his concept art that he created for the show. And that's what we thought was the special thing we were getting. We're seeing all this, like, did they share footage? I can't remember beforehand, but they definitely showed his personal drawings. And then they're like, well, we've got a little something to show you guys. And
yeah, and he, in the pure Dave Filoni way of being humble and soft spoken and like unassuming.
God, I love him.
We got a little something to show you. And then I believe they said, roll it again. And they played it again. And I was just as emotional the second time. Like, what the heck?
Seriously. As soon as they, like, remember it was the footage of the helmets lined up and Rex's voice.
Yep.
And they're panning, like, back through the helmets. And then it popped, and the audience just starts, you could feel, like, electricity in the audience crackling through. And then everyone starts screaming.
Yes.
And crying.
And I pretty much didn't have a voice for like 3 months after this. This is no exaggeration.
You're right.
You know this because you and I have talked.
I forgot.
We talked after that.
It's like you paralyzed a vocal cord or something.
And that was day one of Comic-Con.
You were a silent purveyor.
I spent it all at once in the best way possible. But it was worth it.
It was so great.
For those of you, I know there were several there who took a picture of my shirt.
That's right.
But if we don't get this trending now,
it's gotta.
I don't know that we ever will get it trending. But hashtag Filoni gets it because he gets Star Wars.
Praise be. Praise be.
I had that put on the back of my t-shirt for the panel itself. When they announced that the panel was happening, I said, well, I gotta have a t-shirt. I had the characters' names for Clone Wars on the front, and then I had hashtag Filoni gets it on the back. And people obviously loved it because they took pictures and shared it on their social media with my permission.
Yeah.
Filoni just gets Star Wars. He understands it. I mean, we see it in the Clone Wars itself, and then, in his latest works as well. When he talks about it and discusses Star Wars, he is on point. He exudes the spirit of Star Wars, which is why I became a fan of. The things that make Star Wars, the reason we want to talk about it now once a week, the philosophy, the feeling behind it.
Exactly. It's so much more than just like explosions and action.
Yes.
It's so much deeper than that. It's character development. It's the monomyth, right? That like all cultures and from all histories have like this unifying idea of what a hero and a villain is, and Filoni just gets that. It's like in his bones. And I've heard interviews where he talks about reading, like Tolkien and C.S. Lewis and stuff like that from a very young age, and it maybe that's why we feel so connected to it, because you and I both have read those things and felt passionate about those things since we were kids, and now Star Wars is a natural step.
Very much.
In those legends, I would say.
Yeah, definite legends. I'm a huge fan of Lord of the Rings. That's not what this is about, but
but it's connected, right? It's all
connected. Yeah, it's a tale that has many layers. Star Wars should and always will have many layers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the original trilogy, I feel, obviously set the bar. And
oh, yeah.
the main three, right? Luke, Leia, Han.
My love.
Multifaceted. Yes.
I love them all so much.
I guess I forgot to say earlier in my intros that I am a self-proclaimed Anakin stan and a Darth Vader apologist, which we'll get into future episodes. Don't worry. Which is funny because you and I have called each other forever and always space twins because of how we found each other.
Yes.
I guess we should talk about that.
Yes.
We got sidetracked already.
Well, that's because we're big tangent talkers here.
Be prepared, people.
Well, and like there's different ways too. Like I would say space twins like Luke and Leia.
Yep.
And space twins like Anakin and Obi-Wan. We both have different character traits that kind of draw us to the different people we relate to, like the characters we relate to. But also like we really seem to be destined to be friends because it's like on a weird level we have everything in common.
Yes.
And we'll text each other the same thought at the same time, even though we haven't spoken for a day and a half.
I'm feeling emotional right now. Even though we talk about it all the time.
I know, but it's true. It's you're like my soulmate.
Absolutely. Oh, best friends, soulmates on earth. I know.
Exactly.
It's true. And so Lauren, the Most Things Kenobi Instagram account, I, at the time, several years ago, had been rewatching Clone Wars and was getting inspired to write a fanfic. Yes, I do write. We both do.
We both do. We're passionate about it.
So I was cruising Instagram and came across a great account called Most Things Kenobi. And just when I read your captions beneath the screen caps, I said, I don't know who runs this account, but they get it. So I don't say anything on Instagram, or at least I don't have an account now, but at the time I was kind of a lurker, but I felt compelled to say something to the person running this account. You know, I didn't know if they were male, female. I sensed female based on some of the things you wrote about, you know, how handsome Kenobi was, but it could be male. It's all good. So I wrote, I can't remember exactly what I wrote. We were going to go back and find this, but immediately became like kindred spirits.
We were clearly on the same wavelength. Very.
And it just progressed from there. We started DMing and then texting and calling, FaceTiming.
Yeah. I remember my mom saying, like, are you sure she's a real person?
Yeah.
She's like,
we proved to one another we were safe.
Yeah.
We weren't stalkers or serial killers.
We took time escalating into our friendship, I think.
Yeah.
For a while, we were just, like, on stranger basis. But, like, the very first thing you messaged me, like, you responded to some stuff on my post, but then I don't remember what I had posted, but it was something about Obi-Wan drinking booze. Probably because that scene in Attack of the Clones where he goes into a bar and orders a shot. Says, you don't want to sell me death sticks.
That scene. Oh my God.
That scene. It's like, it's just like, what is happening right now? I don't know what it is, but I love it.
So good.
But then you messaged me and said that you had written a scene of Obi-Wan in a bar, and would I like to read it? And I was like, hell yes, I would like to read it.
I do hope it was better than the scene that was in the movie. I like to think that it was.
It was divine. I remember being like, I don't know your name and I don't know who you are, but I like this story. Yes. Tell me more.
And then I found out she writes amazingly. And so then it just kind of easily progressed from there, sharing stories, sharing chapters with each other. And then pretty soon it was life stories with each other and trying to cheer one another up when we were down and whatever we were going through. And it was just pretty easy.
It's been pretty awesome to have a person that I can like rely on every day, all day, no matter what my mood is. And like, we're never together in person.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because I know there's a lot of risk when you make friends online. Sure, there's a risk involved, but it's also made it possible to find people that you would never find if you're secluded just to your own town or your own personal bubble, which of course we all are right now with the pandemic.
Right.
But I remember thinking how that would have been helpful for me as a teenager.
Oh, for sure.
Because I don't know about you, but like I was nerdy, but not in like an overt way. I kind of kept it to myself, knowing how much I like love Star Wars and other stuff, because I felt a little isolated, especially being a girl.
Oh,
interested
yeah.
in that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and like loving Batman and stuff like that.
Sure.
You know, it wasn't tailored for girls. At least it wasn't marketed to girls, that's for sure. And like to find you out in the universe, and like it's great to have Star Wars in common, but also to be able to talk about writing and what the process is like and share that passion with somebody.
Same girl. Same girl.
It's just been so amazing, and I feel so lucky that we're friends. And it's been so rewarding.
That's the word for it, rewarding. Yes. And maybe through this podcast, you know, as we discuss things and get into, you know, good discussions about all kinds of topics, maybe, hopefully, we find other like-minded, cool women, men out there who want to share in that with us. And I think that would be really cool to kind of unite.
Exactly.
You know? We're a safe place for geeks, nerds, however you identify, whatever you want to label yourself as. You are safe here, and you are welcomed here.
Yep.
We're all kind of just sharing in the same thing, in our love for one thing, and see where it goes from there. That's Star Wars, right?
It is. It is. And that's something I've tried to make very obvious on my blog. I don't care about your background, your creed, whatever. You know, Everyone is safe. Everyone is welcome. You will be respected. As long as there's no bullying, then this is a safe place for you. So
yeah,
I think it's just a great opportunity to meet other people that like what we like. I'll have that community, you know?
Yes, indeed. So that's the tale of us. And now we have a podcast.
Yes, ma'am.
Star Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi, the handsome, dashing Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Very complicated character.
That's why we love him.
Yeah, that's...
God, you want to talk about layers.
He's an onion.
He is. Peel him back. No. Sorry. Did I mention he's handsome?
Oh.
I think we mentioned he's handsome.
With the most ridiculously perfect hair and beard.
Yeah. How does one do battle like he does and deal with a Padawan that he has and not lose a hair? Not have a hair out of place?
Nope, never.
Tell me that.
Someone asked me this on my blog once. They sent me an ask saying, like, how is it possible that his hair is so good? And I was like, I don't know, but I have had this discussion with a friend, you,
yes,
where we've talked about
times.
How is it possible, and we've pretty much decided he has to just use the Force, right, to hold that hair.
That's it.
In place.
That's all.
He's got 0 flyaways. How is that possible?
I don't know. And the beard.
Oh, it's precision.
The beard. The precision in the beard. See?
You could shatter a glass on that.
And his ass.
By the way, this podcast will be 18 and above.
This is for adults, or at least adult-minded individuals.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely talk about stuff that children maybe shouldn't, unless they're like old enough to talk about things like Obi-Wan's ass is a good example.
Do they also have a robotic arm fetish like I do? Honest question.
Yeah. You're welcome here if you enjoy robotic.
It's not the reason that I'm an Anakin stan. It's just that's part of the package. You know.
It helps. It's a very common Star Wars theme.
Yeah, it is.
Well, and you know, I love myself a good brow scar.
Oh.
Which is not an Obi-Wan thing. It's definitely an Anakin thing, but
we will cover topics of when Obi-Wan is dirty, covered in bruises, how
and
good
dirt.
he looks, and how flawless he happens to be.
Yeah. I wish I understood how he did it, because I would do that for myself.
Right.
I'm a mess. I'm generally just a mess.
As we sit here, I have a ball hat on.
Yeah. It's a very nice one, and shout out Dave Filoni would probably appreciate that hat, wouldn't he?
Shout out Dave Filoni, Pittsburgh Penguin fan.
That's right.
Right here.
That's right.
Originally from that area, so hey Dave, you want to chat hockey? Let me know.
Please. Please come on our show, Dave Filoni. We love you. We love you.
We won't just sing your praises. We'll also talk about hockey.
And we don't have to talk about Star Wars if you don't want to. Yeah, we can talk about...
Yeah, if you want to break from Star Wars, come on the Star Wars podcast and we'll talk about hockey.
We'll talk about hockey. I get talk about art too, please, because, again, like, this is probably something we'll cover more in the future, but I remember, I think I've told you this, and I actually mentioned it in, like, my first post about cinematography in the Clone Wars, my cinematography of Obi-Wan Kenobi series that I do. The first one I did was, gosh, what was it? I can't even remember now because it was so long ago. But I remember mentioning that the lighting in the episode looked like a Caravaggio painting.
Yes.
It's Baroque lighting where they use the chiaroscuro or the chiaroscuro, however you pronounce it. The shadows are just as important as the light. And I mentioned that specifically and then found out recently that Dave Filoni studied Caravaggio paintings in college. So I was like, well, that makes sense then. Hey, Dave, I caught it. I saw what you were doing there, man.
See, Filoni? We pay attention to the details.
We do. We pick up on it.
But it's a beautiful, say what you want about the storyline and the action and the animation, all amazing. Mm-hmm. But damn it, it's a beautiful show.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, some of the things they pulled out on this last season, season 7.
Oh my God.
Gorgeous, right?
Stunning.
Just, it's the little things as well as the big obvious things that make you and I fans of the show.
Because they take the time. They care enough to pay attention to those details. And the show is rewarding because you can watch it for just entertainment value, which is, it's entertaining, or
absolutely
to do a deep dive on it and like really critique and analyze stuff. It's super rewarding either way. And I think that's the best kind of entertainment, either in novels or movies or TV shows, when it can just be fun or it can be very like analytic.
Yes. And we're going to cover all of that stuff on this podcast and more. We'll talk about, the prequels, the main trilogy, and then the sequels. We'll cover all kinds of things.
We will.
But at its heart, it'll be about the Clone Wars, and that's where this friendship started. So that's where this podcast will start,
Exactly, yeah. Clone Wars is kind of what brought us together. Clone Wars and Obi-Wan Kenobi specifically.
Yes.
But I think that this episode is a little introduction, but like moving forward, we'll have specific topics that we cover on each episode. We won't ramble so far off topic, but it's going to happen.
This episode's 30 minutes, but all other episodes will be between 20 and 30 minutes. We won't go over, because we know people have lives. But this will be their little escape. Yeah. It'll be ours as well. I mean, we're doing this because we talk about it anyways.
Yeah.
We just figured we'd put a mic in front of our mouth and see if something cool could come of it. Like we meet other awesome people out in the galaxy, if you will. Maybe a few other space twins will meet each other.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best thing, right? Paying it forward and having...
Yeah.
I found that even with writing, right? Where I remember reading stuff as a kid that just spoke to me and made me feel like not such an alien, It made me feel like validated in the experience I was having. And so anything I do, whether it's fanfic writing or stuff on my blog or this podcast, if it pays that forward to somebody else
absolutely
who's feeling that same way, and it validates their experience and helps them feel like, oh, I'm a normal kid. I'm just having a normal childhood experience. I'm not such a weirdo, because we all feel that pressure during puberty or whatever time of our life.
Yeah.
That makes it all worthwhile, in my opinion.
I always knew I was nerdy. I mean, I'm a scientist in my actual day life, outside of this.
Girls in STEM. Girls in STEM. That's right.
Women in science. Absolutely. And
yes.
Mathematics, the whole thing, all of it. So I can't escape it. But this podcast is part of the creative outlet that I was always looking for but didn't know how to do. My writing It's my escape. Star Wars in and of itself is its own little escape. It's such a rich world full of so much, all the things we're going to talk about. But, you know, I hope that this functions as a little escape for someone as well who's out there and needs it. And
yeah, definitely. Well, Mark Hamill says that all the time, that it's like, we take it all very seriously as our, what does he call us? The super enthusiastic fans or whatever.
Well, that's definitely it.
Yeah. Ultra passionate UPFs, the ultra passionate fan, I think is what he calls Star Wars fans. And he's like, just remember, it's meant to be fun.
Thank you, Mark.
It's meant to be escapism. And he's so right. It's sometimes we get very intense talking about it because it's fun, but it's also meant to just be a little vacation from life, you know, which we all need right now.
Leave it to Mark Hamill, our Luke Skywalker, forever and always, to bring it back around, right? To bring it back to what it really is.
Mark Hamill, national treasure. National
treasure all the way. Yes. And we will talk about Luke on this podcast.
Yes, ma'am, because he was my favorite character.
He's the one.
Yeah, he's the reason I love Star Wars, is Luke. He is still, I think, probably my favorite character just because I really relate to that 18-year-old version of Luke standing in the desert.
And Leia is mine, always and forever.
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher, rest in peace, rest in power. She is our princess.
Yeah, truly. And our general.
And our general, yes.
I do appreciate
our leader.
Yeah. Yes, take me to your leader.
Take me to your leader. That's cute. I love it. See, this is just us talking. This is Most Things Kenobi, folks. This is your podcast.
Oh my God. Yep, just friends shooting the shit. I think that's what we say in our trailer, right?
That's it. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Shooting the shit about Star Wars. So next week, we will cover all of our, let's go with top 5. Let's cover our top 5 favorite moments in Clone Wars. And you and I won't discuss what they are ahead of time. We will come to the podcast with our top 5 favorite moments of Clone Wars and see if ours line up. Because I bet you at least one will. I'm sure. We're going to have at least one or two. Let's just see what we come up with, and we'll get into detail, you know, the characters, the scenery, the, you know, dialogue, whatever we want to talk about and why we love those moments. That's what we'll discuss next week. I'm super excited. I already have a few ideas. Me too. We'd like to invite you guys to the conversation with us, so why don't you hop on over to our social media. You can leave us some comments about today's episode, but we have something specific we want to ask you. Have you met anyone through your love of Star Wars? Or have any of your relationships grown as a result of Star Wars? Just like how LeeAnn and I met and our friendship grew. Yeah, do you have a space twin? If you don't have one, maybe you'll meet one. By listening to this podcast, you never know what could happen. You never know. Hop on over to our social media. You can find us on Instagram at Most Things Kenobi, or you can message me over on Tumblr. I check it every single day, so you can always get me through and ask a private message, or you can leave a comment on the post related to this podcast. Let us know what you think. Let us know the answer to this question, and we might even read some of your responses on next week's episode. Yes, we want it to be interactive, so join in the conversation. Exactly. It's a community, people. It is. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us here on Most Things Kenobi, the podcast. Remember to follow us on Tumblr and Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast player. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and more. So until next time, see you, Space Twin. May the Force be with you. Always.